The Last Dance at Traxx. An upper intermediate Halloween story by the Queer Triptych. It was a chilly Halloween night, the kind where the wind whispered through the streets, carrying fallen leaves like ghosts drifting toward the fading neon lights of Traxx. The once vibrant gay bar, nestled in a quiet corner of the city, was now on the brink of closing, a shadow of its former self. For decades, it had been a sanctuary for the LGBTQ+ community, a place to find solace, love, and joy. But now, with fewer patrons and whispers of tragedy haunting its halls, Traxx was dying. In its final days, the owner, a grizzled man named Roy, had invited a few old friends and patrons back for a Halloween bash. It was a last-ditch effort to recapture some of its former glory before the doors shut for good. Among the guests were 5 friends: Sam, Mark, Ivy, Jade, and Lily. Each had their own story, but they shared a bond forged over years of shared laughs, heartbreaks, and late-night talks under the dim lights of Traxx. But tonight, the air felt different, not just because it was Halloween, but because of what had happened here a year ago. A murder. Sam was the first to arrive, his tall frame wrapped in a sleek black coat, a little witch hat perched comically on his head. Sam was a software developer, a soft-spoken man who had grown up in the Midwest before moving to the city. His dark brown eyes flickered as he glanced around the empty bar, half expecting the ghosts of past nights to greet him. "Sam," came a voice from the corner. Mark, his boyfriend of 3 years, stepped into view. Mark was a bit shorter, with curly hair and a smile that could light up a room. He was dressed as a vampire, fangs and all. A theater major, Mark's flair for the dramatic often made him the life of the party. But tonight, his smile seemed dimmer than usual. Sam gave him a kiss on the cheek. "Where's everyone?" "They're running late," Mark said, glancing nervously around the bar. "Roy's still getting things ready." The two walked deeper into the bar, passing the stage where drag queens once performed and couples danced under the mirrored disco ball. But now, the tables were mostly empty, save for a few familiar faces from the old days. The place reeked of nostalgia, but also something else, something darker. Last year, during Halloween, a bartender named Alex had been found dead in the alley behind Traxx. The police had ruled it an accident, something about a robbery gone wrong, but those who knew Alex had their doubts. The murder had cast a shadow over the bar ever since. Just as Sam and Mark sat down, Ivy and Jade burst through the door, their laughter echoing through the empty room. Ivy, with her short, spiky hair and tattoos peeking out from beneath her leather jacket, was a firecracker, a mechanic by day, a mischief maker by night. She was dressed as a zombie bride, her makeup impeccable. Jade, her girlfriend, was the opposite, tall, graceful, with dark skin that seemed to shimmer under the dim lights. She was an artist, with a gentle spirit that balanced Ivy's fiery energy. Tonight, Jade was dressed as a skeleton, her face painted white with intricate black designs. "We thought we'd be the last ones," Ivy said, pulling up a chair next to Mark. "Where's Lily?" As if on cue, Lily walked in, her long blonde hair framing her face. She was elegant, confident, with a quiet strength about her. Lily was a trans woman who had come into her own after moving to the city a few years back. She'd faced her share of struggles, but she never let them define her. Tonight, she wore a shimmering silver gown, her costume a nod to some glamorous old Hollywood star. "Sorry I'm late," Lily said, taking a seat. "I got caught up at work." As they all gathered around the table, the conversation flowed naturally, old memories resurfacing, but the unease in the room was palpable. "It feels weird being back here, doesn't it?" Jade finally said, breaking the silence. "After what happened?" The group fell quiet. Sam looked toward the bar, where Roy was wiping down glasses, his face expressionless. "They say Alex's ghost still haunts the place," Ivy whispered, grinning. "Maybe we'll see him tonight." "Don't joke about that," Mark said, glancing nervously toward the alley door. "I'm serious," Ivy insisted. "People have heard things. Seen things." Lily shook her head. "Ghost or no ghost, something doesn't add up about that night. I was here. I saw Alex before he went out back. He wasn't drunk, and he definitely wasn't the type to just get mugged." "Didn't the police close the case?" Sam asked. "They did," Jade said. "But that doesn't mean they were right. The group sat in silence for a moment, the weight of last year's tragedy hanging over them like a dark cloud. Just then, the lights flickered, and the front door creaked open. Everyone turned to see a tall figure silhouetted in the doorway, a man in a long trench coat, his face hidden by a hat. Roy straightened up behind the bar, his eyes narrowing. "We're closed for a private event." The man stepped inside, ignoring Roy. As he got closer, the group could see his face. He was older, maybe in his 50s, with sharp features and cold eyes. "Who are you?" Ivy asked, standing up. The man didn't answer. Instead, he walked to the bar and placed something on the counter, a small, silver locket. "That belonged to Alex," Roy said, his voice barely a whisper. The man looked at Roy, his expression unreadable. "I think it's time we talked about what really happened to Alex." The group exchanged uneasy glances. Lily, ever calm under pressure, spoke up. "What do you know?" The man finally turned to face them. "I know Alex wasn't robbed. He was murdered." As the night wore on, the manned Detective Reynolds revealed that he had reopened the case after new evidence had surfaced. The locket, found in a pawn shop downtown, had once belonged to Alex. Inside, it held a picture of Alex and another man, Roy. "Alex and I," Roy began, his voice trembling. "We were close, but no one knew. He wanted to keep it a secret." Reynolds nodded. "There was no robbery. Someone killed Alex because of his relationship with you." "But why?" Mark asked, his voice shaking. Reynolds' eyes darkened. "Because Alex had been blackmailing someone, a regular here at the bar." The group looked at each other in shock. "Someone they knew?" "That night, Alex went out to meet the person he was blackmailing," Reynolds continued. "But instead of paying him off, they killed him." "And you know who did it?" Sam asked, his heart pounding. Reynolds nodded slowly. "Yes. And they're here tonight." A chill ran through the room. Reynolds turned toward the group, his gaze settling on Ivy. "Ivy," he said, "I think it's time you told them the truth." Ivy's face drained of color, her bravado crumbling. I didn't mean to. It was an accident." Tears welled in her eyes as she explained. Alex had discovered something about Ivy's past, something she'd kept hidden even from Jade. In desperation, she had confronted him that night, intending to scare him into silence. But things had gone horribly wrong. "I didn't mean to kill him," Ivy sobbed. I panicked." The room fell into a heavy silence. Jade reached out to Ivy, her face a mixture of shock and hurt. "Ivy," Jade whispered. Reynolds stepped forward, placing a hand on Ivy's shoulder. "It's over now." As Ivy was led away, the remaining friends sat in stunned silence, the weight of what had just happened settling over them like a shroud. Traxx would close for good after tonight, its final chapter written in tragedy. But as they looked at each other, they knew that, somehow, they would carry on together, even in the face of loss and betrayal. After all, that's what family does.
Thanks for listening. For more great queer stories, visit the Queer Triptych at www.queertriptych.weebly.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe.